Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this, my latest video podcast during this awful corona crisis. As hopefully you will have seen by now, I'm doing a series of discussions with figures from across the Northwest Hampshire community, talking about how people are coping with, helping in, dealing with the crisis, in the hope that we can both inform people who are at home isolating, but also reassure people that the structures of society in this lovely part of the world are still functioning, that there's help out there for them should they need it, and that there are good people across the whole constituency still doing their thing. And I'm very pleased to welcome to the podcast today somebody I've known for a number of years now, from his work with Veterans in Action, a charity based in the far southwest of the constituency at Reddenham Park, Billy MacLeod, who I've come to know over the last 2 or 3, well, longer than that, 4 or 5 years actually, not least on the sponsored walk that I did with him and others from Stockbridge to Andover a couple of years ago, but also in other events around the patch. Now, Veterans in Action is an organisation that's obviously been working with veterans across the whole of the Andover area, but this is a chance for me to catch up with him and get him to explain more about what they're doing and how they're helping during the COVID crisis. So, hello, Billy. Nice to see you.
Hello there, Kit. How are you doing?
I'm not bad at all. Now, it's good to see you. Good to see you looking fit. Now, tell us, first of all, before we get into it, for those people who don't know about VIA, tell us about the organisation and what it does.
Our Veterans in Action are a charity that helps veterans who have suffered the effects of war or found the transition to civilian life difficult. And we take a non-therapy approach, and instead we use the outdoors and adventurous activities and expeditions to help veterans build their self-esteem and self-worth. So we do that in many different ways. More recently, we've over the last 9 years, we've walked 13,500 miles across the UK, with over 500 veterans suffering with post-traumatic stress. And more recently, we started a project called Veterans Expeditions Overland, where we built 4 Land Rovers, which we then used to undertake a overland expedition, driving from the UK to Greece and back. And then last year, we went to the Pyrenees. We were due to go to Morocco this year, but obviously that's the situation has actually drawn a halt to that at the moment.
Yeah, so I remember well the pretty spectacular social media videos and pictures you did from your trip down to Greece, because you went kind of overland through some pretty incredible landscape. And as you say, this was all vehicles that you'd acquired as scrap or donations and kind of put back together again and fitted up for the campaign, I guess. I guess it's the activity of doing the sort of getting ready for the expedition and then the expedition itself, which brings value. Is that right?
Yeah, the process of building the vehicles was like 3 years to go on an expedition. So the first year was us applying for grants to get the expedition, planning a route plan to go to Greece, and then 10 months building vehicles before we set off. So the idea is to get veterans involved in long-term projects that actually helps them gain their confidence and self-esteem. One of the things with veterans with post-traumatic stress or other mental health issues is they can become very, very isolated. Our aim as a charity is to get them out doing practical things actually within a team of their peers, and to help them grow within that team, because they have skills from the military that they can add to any project.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense to me. I guess the sense of purpose and the camaraderie is a sort of a reproduction of a life they might have known in the past that helps them, as you say, helps them build their confidence, which is fantastic. And I've seen the work you do down there at Reddenham. I mean, you do. I have to say, the charity's in a lovely spot. You're very lucky in that part of the world. Now, obviously, when this crisis struck, you decided to swing into action. Tell us what you've been up to during the COVID crisis.
Well, as said previously, we were getting prepared to go to Morocco, and obviously the crisis hit us. And so we decided that we had to use our vehicles for a greater purpose. And we also wanted to keep veterans involved in what we were doing, so that they didn't become more isolated. We wanted to get them involved in something. So what we did is we put a call out. We got involved with the Andover self-isolation group, and we delivered 40,000 leaflets around the Andover area. From there, we put a call out to the citizens of Andover, asking for food donations, which we then collect, and we then take them to the self-isolation group, They then put them into care packages, which is identified from other organisations like Unity. And then our guys go back in the afternoon and we deliver all this to those that have been identified as needing help.
That's fantastic. Well, funnily enough, we did one of these podcasts with Terry from Unity just last week. And I think the base for all of this is the Queen Charlotte pub, isn't it?
It is, yes. They're doing a fantastic job up there. And I need to give a big shout out to them. They've got, I think, about 100 volunteers that do. We just do the food side. They're doing prescriptions. They're waiting in queues to do shopping for people. It's a huge kind of community project. And the biggest thing for us is we want to see our veterans grow within doing this. And the reaction they're getting from the Andover public allows them to grow hugely. I mean, with the military, we don't always get waved at. People are waving at us in the street. You know, like we're seeing more and more people out walking their dogs or doing exercise, and they're all waving to us as we drive past. That, for the people we help, is an absolutely huge boost to their morale. And then the people that donate get a massive boost by helping others as well. And then the self-isolation group, they might not get the benefit of now because they're working so hard. But after this, when they realise how much work they've put in, they actually help the citizens of Andover. It's a huge good feel factor project.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, one of the really heartening things for me as the Member of Parliament in this constituency has been, frankly, that just the sheer number of groups that have sprung up across the whole patch. I mean, we've got pretty much 100% coverage now with volunteers doing exactly as you say, prescriptions, food. And in fact, one of the issues, which I know will be close to your heart, is about the kind of mental well-being of people who are in isolation. There's a lot of telephone calling going on just to make sure that people are staying connected. In the same way that you're doing for your veterans, you know, there are particularly elderly and vulnerable people who will be inside, not able to leave their homes, who will be starting to feel the effects quite sharply quite soon.
Some of the people we are actually visiting, elderly people we're visiting, we're probably their only contact they ever see of the day. So it means a lot to them. I mean, we obviously follow the right kind of government guidelines of we don't want to come in contact with them, but we stand well back and we have a conversation with them. And because, as I said, isolation is the biggest thing that's going to come out of this. People who are isolated in their mental state at the end of this. So we need to stay connected to people. And this medium we're using as well, maybe not for all the elderly because they're obviously not tech savvy, but for those that are tech savvy, this is a great way of connecting. We had our first Zoom conference call last Saturday night with a group of veterans. It's something a bit chaotic, the first one, I have to say, but we'll get better at it as we go along. And I think it's a great medium to be able to stay connected to people.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. I mean, I'm doing a lot of my meetings on Zoom, I have to say. And I did a sort of Q&A for my local Conservative Association members the other night. We had 50 of them, and it was pretty chaotic at the start, I have to say. But actually, people had enormous fun learning to use it, and a lot of them were you know, in their late 70s and early 80s, and they really enjoyed it. You're absolutely right. We're all learning new things about ourselves.
Absolutely.
At the moment, and hopefully the good stuff will be captured when we get back to normal life.
Well, I think what we are seeing is communities doing things they probably didn't do before this. Communities are coming together. So making a cake for the lady two doors down, and or whatever it may be that people are doing, or going shopping or picking a prescription up for somebody. This is community, what communities used to be like. And I think we're starting to see this again. And the fact that not all the shelves may be full of everything we want, I believe is a good thing. So we maybe get back to basics of like whatever's on the shelf is good enough for a meal, you know, like, and I think we have to learn from this and actually have to take the positives from it. And that's what I'm trying to get through to veterans about. No matter what the crisis may be, there's still positives that's going to happen throughout this. And I think that's what we have to take away.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. Funnily enough, we're on a sort of message group here where we live in the north of the constituency, and we've had a couple of people put on that group. Someone's left some potatoes and eggs on my front doorstep. Yeah, could somebody please tell us who that was? Kind of thing. It's been funny. Now, listen, that all sounds fantastic. So, what's the future hold for Veterans in Action? I guess will Morocco come off in the future? Do you think?
Well, yes, 100%. We have determined to use these vehicles, and we're very lucky enough to. We've just had another grant from Armed Forces Community Covenant, which is part of the government scheme. You know, they've put 10 million, I believe, into the Armed Forces Community Covenant. So it's come through the Conservative government. We've just managed to get another £70,000 to continue building vehicles. We have got another 4 vehicles we want to build, and we're all ready for that when this finishes. Morocco will still go ahead, as well as lots of little expeditions across the UK.
Okay, that's great. And if there are veterans out there watching this podcast from around the Andover area, how do they get in touch with you if they want to get involved?
Firstly, on social media. We're all using social media. So you can go into the Veterans in Action page, which is Veterans in Action VIA, or we have a group, which is just Veterans in Action. Or you can call us on 01264 771658. Or if you need to, you can go onto our website, which is veteransinaction.org.uk.
Well, that's fantastic. I will publicise on my Facebook, kit.malthouse, and on the website, kitmalthouse.com, and all the others, Instagram and Twitter as well, to get it out there. Look, Billy, it's great to see you again. And I have to say, if there was one person that I knew was going to step forward during this crisis in the constituency, it was probably you. And so you fulfilled my expectations. It's really great what you're doing. And I hope that you and the guys are getting a lot of satisfaction out of what you're doing, because I know a lot of people are very grateful for your work.
One last thing for you, Kit.
Yeah.
You mentioned a 10-mile walk that we did a few years ago.
Yes.
We put a walk together for the end of this, and it's like a breakout walk type thing. We want to do the same route, or as near as the same route as we did. We want to finish it at the Queen Charlotte pub, where the self-isolation group is, but they'll have a barbecue and a band, and I'd love you to join us on that if you can.
It sounds fantastic. I'd love to do that. We did one of these podcasts from the Queen Charlotte back in happier days, just before the budget, so it'd be great to go back and see how they're getting on. I'd love to do that.
They're doing a fantastic
job.
Yeah.
Okay,
fantastic. I'll let you know the details, yeah?
That'd be brilliant. Thanks very much indeed. See you next time.
Thank you.